So today we're going to be looking at how we can use typography to make things easier to read. This is tying into the activity you're doing in your form classes in regards to dyslexia and font. So as you can see in front of me, I have some stencils for letters, and I've used the same 4 letters, D, B, Q, P. Really easy to see, right? They are all obviously 4 different letters of D, B, Q, and P, except they're not. If you look at the capital letters over here, you can clearly distinguish which one is which. But it's not just the fact that they're capitals that makes it easier to see. It's the fact that they include things like this. Little marks off the ends of letters are called serifs. And serif fonts are a lot easier to read because they help define what a letter should look like. These ones are sans serif. They have no little decorative notch coming off the edges of them, which means I could change them around. This P could very easily be a D. This Q could very easily be a B. This D could very easily be a P. And this B could very easily be a Q. There's really nothing to distinguish them. They're all basically the same. In fact, if I flip them over, that becomes a D, that becomes a B, that becomes a Q, and that becomes a P. So now you can kind of get an idea as to why this can be an issue with people who have dyslexia, because it's clearly difficult to distinguish the differences between them when reading blocks of texts. So today we're going to work on creating our own types of fonts. Now creating our own types of fonts is called typography. To really see what happens with typography and how these letters can look the same, let's take a look at what happens when I flip them around. I've applied spray paint, I'm taking them off, and I'm going to flip the page over, and you're going to see how these letters end up looking like other letters very easily. The same applies when you're looking at letters like M and W or U and N. Okay? When I flip them over, the U and N, they look the same either way. To get started making your typography, you're going to start by laying out your lines to make sure that you have clear grid lines that will help you draw each letter. I would suggest at a bare minimum that you have a top and bottom line plus a line running through the center to help define where the center of the letter is. For example, the cross along the T or the top of a lowercase letter. Now you'll see as I'm writing serif and sans serif letters that I'm using these guidelines to help shape the letters. I'm going to start by creating a sans serif A, both capital and lowercase. You can see that my lines are of even width because I'm using a consistent sized marker. And I'm not including any of the wings that create a serif letter. In this one, however, I am using the wings, but I am trying to maintain a consistent width along my marker line. Those little wings, serif, they're what create a bit of a definition of which direction the letters should go. Another way that you can help define your typography better for people who are dyslexic is paying attention to line weight. By having a heavier weighted line, a thicker line at the bottom of the letter, and a thinner line at the top, it helps trick the eye into seeing where the letter should sit on the line. So here I'm doing it with a serif A, both upper and lowercase, and I'll do the same thing with a sans serif. The line weight alone helps improve the sans serif and making it a bit easier for you to read, as you can see here. Now for the house point challenge, you're going to have to complete a full set of letters, numbers, and some punctuation. In a moment, you're going to see me working on an A2 page to create my own alphabet. I've started by marking out my line so that I know where I'm placing each letter. In this case, I've decided to make the top section of each letter very small and the lower section quite large to help emphasize the weighting of my lines. I'm using my brush and the drawing ink to create my letters because I think the brush gives a great weighted line as I can affect the size of my line as I press more with the brush. You can see that I'm doing the entire alphabet, both upper and lowercase, and then when that's done, I'll be doing the numbers and some of the punctuation as well. If you'd like to do this activity not just as a house point challenge, but also as a services action or CAS opportunity, then please make sure that you follow the next steps, which are, once you finish your letters, photograph or scan them into your computer and create a digitized version of them. You can do that using the Glyph app, the link of which is in the PowerPoint that goes along with the lesson that you've received from your form tutor on this subject. So regardless of whether this is just a house point challenge for you or if you're doing this for services action and CAS, I look forward to seeing your responses to this activity and trying to make a font or typography that is effective for people with dyslexia. Make sure you email your entries in by the deadline to ensure that your work can be counted towards the house point challenge.